Hi there guys, Sam here. Welcome back to another video where I'm going to go through the Volkswagen Golf R, the Mk8 2021 review from Autocar. So yeah, let's get straight into this one. So yeah, as you can see on screen, sent to me actually by a subscriber, so thank you very much for sending this through. It appears Autocar have sort of done the first sort of real world kind of test drive of the new Mk8 Golf R, which is really cool. Yes, so thank you for sending that in. You know, that's what builds the channel. It's a bit of a community channel. And interestingly, before I get straight into this, the first thing that person said was like, well, actually, the review wasn't that great. You know, it was a bit of a sterile experience. And I'm glad they said that because I'd read through the article beforehand, which I'm going to go through now. And it's one of the reasons why I probably wouldn't want to work in the automotive industry. I love my YouTube channel. I love sharing my thoughts and stuff. But yeah, when you've got pressures from like a boss wanting you to make the right kind of article, you kind of are contrived to write it in a certain way. And as I'll go on to this, it's it's a bit bland, let's say that to a degree. But let's get straight into this. So you can see from the first image there, nice pictures. You know, I'll scroll through a couple of them that they've taken, some decent shots. That wing actually looks a lot bigger on those pictures. It's running the 19-inch wheels. It's got the Akrapovic exhaust. Looks great. I personally think that's probably the best colour as well for the Golf R8, Golf 8R, Mark 8 Golf R. I don't know. Personally, wheels look pretty cool. That's got the performance packs. You get the drilled discs, and they're bigger than the previous one. There's a close up of the exhaust again. It's on winter tyres actually, as you can probably see from that image. Which means you can't really tell what the handling or anything's like too much. There's the interior, as I've said before, so DSG only, overly complicated setup in certain areas, but yeah, usual Golf fare. Yeah, cool little dials as well, and then you've got the Comfort Sport, so comfort for DCC, the dynamic chassis control, and one-piece seats as well, which I guess helps in manufacturing as well as building this car in terms of getting it right. So there's the engine as well, the famous EA888 engine. If you're a regular subscriber of mine, you know I've got a Mark 7 Golf R, and there's a few differences. One being you get a battery cover in the Mark 7s, you don't get them in the 7.5s or the Mark 8s. You also get a gas strut as well to hold up your bonnet. You don't get that in the Mark 8. So there's all these little tiny things which, yeah, aren't really an upgrade, put it that way. That's what I'm trying to say. There's lots of images there. This guy's testing it. Sure he knows his stuff. He looks quite a old and experienced person, so there you go. Maybe this target audience, who knows. Yeah, really nice pictures, and that's the last one. Cool. Let's get into what they actually said. And obviously I've spoken quite a lot about this car, and my subscribers have spoken a lot about this car, or just casual viewers. And the general consensus is, I think it'll be quite a good car. Probably will be one of the best cars in class. But it's a little bit steep at its price tag of just over 39,000. Before you put any of the options on like that car has, you're going to be well into the 40,000s, nearing sort of 50,000. I think people have spec'd it up to how they like it, about £45,000, which, I mean, there's so much more you can do with your money, people. So yeah, think about that. They talk about a little bit about the history, about the R32 and how amazing that car was. Obviously it had its 6-cylinder engine, and how they introduced sort of like the Haldex system, and that transformed things. They compared it as well to the Mark 8 Golf GTI Club Sport, just a little bit right in there, but obviously a bit more power, a bit more torque, which I think is fair. It says there's no manual gearbox option because Volkswagen said there's insufficient interest, which is correct, but in the US you are getting it, so that's very good. You get slightly faster shift times, and the Akrapovic exhaust saves 7 kilos, which is something, I guess. It talks about the suspension, so it says reworked McPherson struts front and 4-link rear suspension. ER's 20mm lower, and you get the DCC, get my words out, and yeah, just the different changes in camber settings and all these kind of things. So that's quite cool. They did say that their optional car has 20-inch wheels with winter tyres. I'm pretty sure the optional only had 19-inch, but whatever. They talk about the brakes being 600 grams lighter at each corner, so that's unsprung weight. So that's a really good point, actually. So even though they're bigger brakes, stronger brakes, they're slightly lighter, so that's great. Moving slightly on a little bit further, they talk about the four-wheel drive system, and it's being produced by Warner. Wow. Edit this one back. Warner? Whoever they are. And they have basically given it the additional of a new central differential, which provides faster, more rear-biased driving options. Now, the great thing is, then, this is what I understand from my subscribers, is just because you don't get, if you don't want to option up the drift mode, which is basically part of the performance pack, you're still going to get a car which is fundamentally a bit more rear-biased. That's my understanding. So you don't have to spend the extra £2,000, whatever it is, to go for that option. The car is inherently a redeveloped system, which is great, which is what you want to see. They talk about the VDM, the Vehicle Dynamics Manager. It aims to provide a new model with balanced feel and less understeer. Trouble with four-wheel drive cars and, well, front-wheel drive cars as well. They do tend to understeer, but they tend to only understeer if you're really going on it. So that's just one of those things. They talk about the different settings, like the chassis control settings and how compliant it is. And the new bumpers, and, I'll have to kind of agree with a lot of those kind of points. I don't know how much it actually works on the sort of like downforce levels, but certainly the new spoiler and the reworked stuff certainly makes it stand out over another Golf. That wing is probably the main part of that. This is when it kind of goes to a bit more like, as I was reading through it, it's just so generic for like the generic person. And I get more into that when it gets to the end of this article. But I was just so underwhelmed by reading this through. As you see Volkswagen ads popping up here. I need some sort of ad blocker really. Talking about the sports seats as well, I'm sure they're one piece to save on costs. I never saw a problem with not having one piece seats, but they look good. It's said that they're quite supportive as well. Yeah, to try and make it more sporty, but the Golf R's never had a sporty interior. It's always had nice seats, but it's never been that sporty. So I just, probably a Golf GTI is going to look a little bit more out there with its red sort of dials and stuff. Just saying how snug the seats are, dashboard's well integrated and all this kind of rubbish, which is just for the Mk8 Golf interior, so I'm not going to bang on about that for too much longer. 0-60 times 4.7, even though the Mark 7's claimed at 4.6, that's simply because manufacturers try to, they'd rather, what is the best way to say it? They'd rather undersell themselves, basically, because that's not necessarily what sells a car. It's almost certainly going to be faster than that. I'd be surprised if it didn't dip under 4.5 seconds, particularly with its four-wheel drive system and its increase in power. It just seems like the obvious way of going forward. And then the guy says, feels quicker than the figures suggest. No shit. Just saying how you you slip the front wheels, all these kind of bits. Low-end response seems to be improved. It just seems to be a natural breadth of the engine. Now, I actually think the Mark 7 Golf R has a really good progressive engine in terms of you can really rev it to the red line, and you will get more punch as you go further up, as opposed to other cars which tend to just flatten out. But actually lower down, it's still okay as well for suit your day-to-day bit. So I don't know if that's an improvement or if it's just a characteristic of what was already great on the previous Golf R. I will say that Autocar seems to have got the scoop on actually getting this out, because I've not seen anything like Top Gear or any of the other sort of manufacturing, the automotive press. So maybe they're trying to be as nice as possible on that. It is interesting to see what people say who actually do sort of read it in. The DSG's reworked, it's faster shifts. It's more feeling involvement than any previous generation, and how they're saying it's more intense than the Golf GTI, which hasn't really seemed to improve at all over the Mark 7, other than the fact that it seems to be more firmer. That's the consensus that I've sort of read about the car. They do sound good though. There's a brand new 70 plate one being ragged to bits by obviously the guy taking it back and forth to the depot where they're kind of stored, and it sounded good in DSG form. So, and that's without the Aquapovich exhaust. So there you go. Saying how there's no understeer even on winter tyres. I don't really know how you can get any kind of feel on winter tyres, but yeah. Just saying it's a good laugh. Resists lean, I should think so, because it's 20mm lower. It says that's for ride quality, while the old model could prove a little brittle over less than smooth roads. I actually think mine's not even got adaptive dampers, my Mark 7. I wouldn't agree with that at all. I think it's perfectly fine on the 18s. I think the 19s it gets a little bit harder, but then if you have the DCC, I think that counteracts it. So I don't particularly agree with that. New one brings genuine compliance. Let's see if it is more compliant. I suppose the only way to find out is if you're sitting in the car yourself. Should I buy one? The R not only lives up to its lofty expectations, but exceeds them. Yes, it's quick, but not as quick as its rivals. However, it's also terrifically well balanced, superb traction, all season, all weather. Yeah, all the stuff that we love about the Golf R, because you're subscribed to the channel, so you obviously do like the Golf R. Need to test it in the dry, and perhaps we'll get them when we test this car in the UK. Well, it doesn't. It's never dry in the UK, so good luck there. For now, what we can say is Golf R's clever chassis brings a broader balance, characteristics on the table. There's a great compliance over the overall comfort. If that's what you're looking for, I don't think people who want this car are really looking for that. I don't know. It all means that even at more than 39,000, the Golf R would seem money well spent. And then you've got the last little bits of the stats, how much it weighs. Top speed's 168 now, and 1,551 kilos, and 36.2 mpg. And there's a few little people joining the debate of what they think, and it's quite interesting them saying how probably worth mentioning that the car tested is near 45 grand and not 35 but 39 grand, which is a very good point. The starting price of the new S3 is less than this new Golf R. Very good point. There should be a 3-door option. Obviously there's no 3-door option, and there's no manual for people in the UK. So I'm going to leave this on this image because this looks quite cool. My final thoughts on this little road test review is that I generally do think this is going to be a really good car. I don't want to have a downer of it. But reading through that article, it just got me thinking of like someone who isn't necessarily in touch with the enthusiast who would want this car. And I do kind of get that, because this broader global appeal of this car is just for your average Joe who just wants to get in a car, and if it's comfortable and it's fast, they're generally happy. Maybe this car does achieve that. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I just can't really get over its price point. And as that person in the comment mentioned, it's just such a glaringly obvious thing that it's more than an Audi S3, and that's not really mentioned once. I mean, the Akrapovic exhaust is obviously quite a bit of a swan song and quite cool to have. £3,100 if you would like that to your Golf R. Yeah, it's interesting. But let me know what you think. I'll leave the article in the link below. I just wanted to kind of read through that quite casually with you guys. I may have sounded a little bit harsh at some points, but I just would love to see someone grab it by the scruff of the neck and just say it for how it is. Say it like, it's quite an expensive car, but it's worth every penny. It's probably best in class. Yeah, and kind of go from there. I just think it's very sort of tippy-toeing here and there on those kind of articles, and I think seeing it in the flesh as well, and hopefully seeing a sort of first drive video as well in this YouTube world that we live in, I'm sure that will not be too far away, and getting someone sort of feel on the car from a driving perspective, which is I think what a lot of people want. They want that engagement, and can this car deliver? But yeah, let me know what you think of the article. Let me know what you think of this first review of the Mark 8 Golf R that we've sone, and yeah, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on what you thought of it as well. But listen, thanks so much for staying tuned, particularly staying tuned this long into the video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers, guys.